Hello, and welcome back to Thrive After a Heart Attack. I'm Luiza a heart health coach, and I'm so grateful you've chosen to spend a little time with me today. Whether you've survived a heart attack, you're living with significant cardiovascular risk, or you're caring for someone you love, I hope this podcast feels like a place where you can take a deep breath, learn something new, and remember that you don't have to walk this journey alone. But before we get started, I just wanted to say that the information in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Today, we're talking about something that almost every heart attack survivor experiences, but many people are afraid to say out loud. Fear. The fear that it could happen again, or that every ache, flutter, pressure, or unusual sensation means something is wrong. Fear of exercising, or maybe fear of going to sleep. Could it be the fear of being alone? And sometimes even the fear of feeling happy again, because a part of you is waiting for the next bad thing to happen. If any of this feels familiar, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not weak. You are not overreacting, and you are not failing at recovery. Your brain and body are trying to protect you after something frightening happened. When I was teaching middle school science, I used to greet my students with these words every day. We enter with a positive attitude and an open mind. Over the years, I've realized those words aren't really about science. They're about life. And they're especially true after a heart attack. Recovery doesn't ask us to pretend everything is okay. It asks us to stay open to learning, open to healing, and open to believing that even the smallest step forward still counts. Today, we're going to explore why that fear can remain even while your heart is healing, and how you can begin rebuilding safety, hope, confidence, and trust one small step at a time. One of the biggest surprises people experience after a heart attack is this. They expect that once they're home from the hospital, the fear will begin to fade. Sometimes it does, but for many people it doesn't. In fact, it can seem to get louder. A heart attack is not only a medical event. It can also be a deeply emotional and traumatic experience. One moment, life may have felt completely ordinary. Then suddenly, your body no longer felt predictable. You may have been rushed to the hospital. You heard unfamiliar medical terms. You may have undergone procedures, started new medications, or maybe you were told that your life needed to change. And then, often much sooner than you expected, you were sent home. The emergency may have ended, but your nervous system may not have received that message yet. Instead, your brain may still be saying, "Stay alert. Watch everything. Don't let this happen again." That's why every little sensation can suddenly feel important. You may become hyper aware of your heartbeat. You wonder if it's beating too fast or too slow. You might notice every twinge in your chest. Do you find yourself checking your pulse throughout the day or watching your heart rate on your smartwatch? Searching symptoms online, waking up during the night just to make sure everything feels okay. Maybe you stop exercising because you're afraid your heart can't handle it. You love to travel, but you're avoiding it. Perhaps you stop doing some of the things you once loved because they no longer feel safe. And if you're a caregiver, you may notice yourself doing something similar. Checking on your loved one more often, watching them closely during a walk, or maybe wondering if every nap, every sigh, or every complaint of feeling tired means something is wrong. If any of this sounds familiar, I want you to hear this. There's nothing wrong with you. Your brain isn't trying to make your life difficult. It's actually trying to protect your life. Your brain's most important job is to keep you alive. When something traumatic happens, your brain remembers it. It starts paying closer attention to anything that might signal danger. That's actually a remarkable survival mechanism. The challenge is that after a heart attack, your brain's alarm system can become so sensitive that it begins responding to uncertainty as though uncertainty itself were danger. I often compare it to a smoke detector. Imagine your smoke detector went off because there really was a fire. It did exactly what it was designed to do. But now, imagine it keeps going off every time you make toast. The smoke detector isn't broken. It's become extra sensitive. That's often what happens after a heart attack. Your brain is trying to protect you. It just hasn't fully learned that the immediate danger has passed. Now, I do want to pause here and say something that's really very important. If you ever experience new, severe, or concerning symptoms, don't assume they're just anxiety. Always contact your healthcare provider or seek emergency care when appropriate. The goal isn't to ignore symptoms. It is to learn how to respond with wisdom instead of living in constant fear. And here's the hopeful part. Just as your brain learned to become extra alert after your heart attack, it can also learn to recognize safety again. And that's where we're going to begin practicing today. Whether you're the survivor or the caregiver, I'd like you to join me in the next exercise. Because calming your nervous system isn't just helpful for recovery, it's also one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and each other. I would like to introduce you to this week's Thrive practice. Let's begin with your heart. Not just the muscle that pumps blood, but the place where we can begin creating a sense of calm. I'd like to guide you through a simple breathing exercise. If you're driving, simply listen. If you're somewhere comfortable, you might place one hand over your heart. Focus your attention in the area of your heart. Imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area. Breathing a little slower and deeper than usual. Find an easy rhythm that's comfortable. Take a slow breath in through your nose and slowly breathe out through your mouth. Again, slowly breathe in and slowly breathe out. As you continue heart-focused breathing, activate and sustain a regenerative feeling such as appreciation, care, or compassion. Think of someone you love, a favorite place, or a treasured memory. Anything that brings you even the smallest feeling of appreciation, comfort, or peace. Stay there for another breath or two. Notice what you feel. Maybe nothing changed. Maybe your shoulders softened. Your breathing slowed. Or maybe you feel just a little calmer. Whatever you notice is okay. Every time you practice, you are giving your nervous system the opportunity to experience safety. And that's where healing begins. Now let's talk about the conversations happening inside your head. Fear has a way of telling convincing stories. What if this pain means another heart attack? Maybe, what happens if I exercise too hard? What if I never feel normal again? Our minds are wonderful at trying to protect us, but they don't always tell the whole story. The next time you notice a fearful thought, instead of immediately believing it, try becoming curious. Ask yourself, is this thought giving me helpful information right now? Or is it my brain trying to protect me from something that has already happened? Notice the difference. You're not arguing with the thought, and you're not pretending it isn't there. You're just simply creating a little space between you and the fear. Sometimes That small pause is enough to help you choose your next step with greater confidence. One of the most fascinating things we know about the brain is that it's naturally wired to notice danger. That's one reason fear can feel so overwhelming after a heart attack. But healing also happens when we begin noticing something else: progress, moments of calm and signs of strength, small victories that are easy to overlook. Tonight, before you go to bed, I'd like you to ask yourself one simple question. When did I feel even a little bit safe today? Maybe it was during your morning walk, while talking with a friend, or sitting quietly with a cup of coffee. Could it have been while laughing with your grandchild, or maybe even while listening to this podcast? Those moments matter. They remind your brain that your story is bigger than your fear. I also want you to remember something I used to tell my students. We enter with a positive attitude and an open mind. That doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means believing that we can learn, grow, and adapt. Recovery isn't about getting back to who you were before your heart attack. It's about becoming the person you're growing into because of it. That's a growth mindset, and it's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. Here's something that may surprise you. Healing doesn't usually happen because of one big decision. It happens because of hundreds of small decisions that gradually become part of who we are. Think about brushing your teeth. You probably don't have to remind yourself to do it every day. It's simply part of your routine. That's how lasting habits are built. Not through willpower and not by being perfect, but by repeating one small action until it becomes natural. When we're afraid, our instinct is often to avoid exercise because we're worried it might trigger another heart attack. And we may avoid going to places because they feel unfamiliar. We even might avoid paying attention to our bodies because we're afraid of what we might notice. The challenge is that avoidance can slowly shrink our world. Instead of fear becoming smaller, our lives become smaller. What if, instead, every fearful moment became an invitation to practice something different? So here's this week's tiny habit. After I notice a fearful thought, I'll place my hand over my heart and take one slow, heart-focused breath. That's it. One breath. You don't have to solve the fear, and you don't have to convince yourself everything is okay. You're simply creating a new response. And after you take that breath, I want you to acknowledge yourself. Maybe you quietly say, "I'm proud of myself for practicing," or "High five, that was one small step." We often celebrate the big milestone in recovery. Today, I want you to celebrate the tiny ones because those tiny moments become the foundation for lasting confidence. And as your confidence grows, remember that healing is about partnership. Your healthcare team brings medical expertise. You bring your lived experience. Together, you're building a healthier future. Continue taking your medication as prescribed. Attend a cardiac rehabilitation program if it's available to you. Keep your follow-up appointments. Nourish your body with heart-healthy foods and move your body in ways that your healthcare team has recommended. It's important to protect your sleep and manage your stress because none of these habits need to be perfect. Every healthy choice is another way of saying, my heart is worth caring for. Some days you'll take bigger steps, and some days your biggest victory might simply be getting out for a short walk or practicing your breathing. Both count. Healing isn't measured by perfection, it's measured by continuing to show up for yourself. Before we finish today, I'd like to speak directly to those of you who are caring for someone after a heart attack. First of all, thank you. The love, encouragement, and support you give each day matter more than you may even realize. I also want you to know that it's okay if you're feeling afraid. You may find yourself checking in more often or watching your loved one a little more closely. You may even be wondering if every ache or every nap means something is wrong. And that's not because you're overreacting. It's because your nervous system experienced something frightening too. As you support someone else's healing, please don't forget about your own. Take time to breathe, to rest, talk with someone you trust, go for a walk, accept help when it's offered, and remember that you don't have to carry this alone. One of the greatest gifts you can give the person you love is a calm, supportive version of yourself. Healing is not meant to be a solo journey. It's really something we walk through together. Before we finish, let's bring everything together in this week's Thrive practice. I invite you to practice these 5 simple steps. For your heart, take 1 minute each day to practice heart-focused breathing. You don't need to wait until you're feeling anxious. The more you practice when you're calm, the easier it becomes to access when fear shows up. For your mind, when a fearful thought appears, pause and ask yourself, is this thought helping me right now, or is my brain trying to protect me from something that has already happened? Just notice it. Be curious about it. Then let it pass. For your hope, at the end of each day, ask yourself, when did I feel even a little bit safe today? Maybe it was only for a moment, and that's okay. Those moments matter. They remind your brain that healing is happening, and before you fall asleep, remind yourself of one more thing. I am learning, I'm growing, one small step at a time. For your habits, when fear shows up this week, place your hand over your heart. Take 1 small breath, 1 slow breath, and celebrate yourself for practicing. Every repetition is helping your brain and body learn a new pattern. For your health, continue following the recovery plan you've created with your healthcare team, and remember, you're not trying to become perfect. You're just becoming someone who consistently cares for their heart. Before we say goodbye, I'd love to hear from you. One of the reasons I started this podcast is because I don't want these episodes to feel like a one-way conversation. I want us to build a community where heart attack survivors and caregivers learn from one another. So this week, I'd like to invite you to share your Thrive takeaway with me. Send me an email at luiza@wingspanwellbeing.com with the subject line, My Thrive Takeaway, Rebuilding Safety. Then answer one of these questions. What was your biggest takeaway from today's episode? Or, what is one question you still have about recovering after a heart attack? Your email can be 1 sentence or several paragraphs. I personally read every message because your stories and your questions help to shape future episodes. If you're comfortable, you might even hear your question or your Thrive takeaway featured anonymously in a future episode so we can continue learning from one another. In fact, you may inspire a topic that helps someone else who is walking a similar path. I'd truly love to hear from you. Fear after a heart attack can make your world feel smaller, and it can make you question your body, your future, and your ability to feel normal again. But fear is not proof that you're broken. It is evidence that your mind and body experience something frightening and are trying to protect you. Now, little by little, you can teach something new. You can teach your nervous system that calm is possible. And you can teach your mind that not every thought must be believed. You can also teach your brain to notice moments of safety, progress, and connection and hope. You can take small actions that rebuild trust in your body and your life. And remember, you do not have to wait until fear is completely gone before you begin thriving. You can feel fear and take 1 small breath, feel uncertain and ask for support. You can even feel vulnerable and still act with courage. You are more than what happened to you. Your heart attack may be part of your story, but it does not get to write the entire ending. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If today's episode encouraged you, I have one small favor to ask. Please follow Thrive After Heart Attack on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss future episodes. And if you know someone who has experienced a heart attack or someone who loves and cares for a heart attack survivor, please share this episode with them. You never know how one conversation, one new perspective, or one calm breath might change someone's recovery journey. Next week, we're going to shift our focus from fear to food. We'll explore how simple nutrition choices can become powerful acts of healing and why eating for heart health doesn't have to be overwhelming or restrictive. Until then, remember this: your brain is learning, your heart is healing, your habits are growing, and every small step you take is helping you move from surviving to thriving. I'll see you next week.